All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon or good noon, I guess. It's one minute after. And welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. Our topic today is for appraisers, and it's about completing all of the tasks in the appraisal process. My name is Paige Parker, and with me today is Alicia Thomas. We're both from the training and implementation team, and we'll be trying to answer questions as you go along. So if you have a question that comes up, please post it in the Q&A section, and one of us will try to answer the question now. If you have a question that's about something other than today's topic, we'd appreciate it if you'd save that one and put it in an email to training@eduphoria.net, and we'll get back to you after today's session is over. But any questions that are related, please feel free to put them in that Q&A window. Our objective today is to make sure that all of our appraisers will confidently complete their appraisal process and be able to complete summative tasks, including improving everything that needs to be improved, archiving, and closing out the year. So our agenda for today is to first talk about the end of the year reports that can help you get the information you need to make sure that you are completing all of these steps. Then we'll talk about signing documents, the goals process, the portfolio snapshot, and the summative panel, which are all features that will help you close out that evaluation process. So the first thing I want to talk about are end of year reports, and we have a section in our online help guide. When you go into Strive, there's a section for reporting. It's called Strive Reports, and you'll find the first article titled Suggestions for Running Reports in Strive. And in this article, we've outlined all the reports that you can run. You can't see them all in this screenshot, but we have an outline of all of the reports, when we recommend that you run them, and what the purpose is. Why would you want to run them? So we're going to talk about 4 of those reports today, and you'll notice that 2 of them are shown here in my screenshot, and the second bullet says run this report before teachers leave at the end of the year. These are some of those end of the year things that you're going to do. I'm going to go into the end of the year reports, and as I was saying, you can see where the reports are in our online help guide. We have a section for Strive reports, and that's where you'll find this one that recommends what reports and when you run them. So I'm going to go in as a user now, as a principal, and I'm going to run those reports. So from my main panel over on the left-hand side, I'm going to go into the reports section and go to appraisal reports. And the first one that I'm going to run is the goal summary spreadsheet export. So I would click right there. I actually have it run already, so I'm just going to pop it up. This is a simple report that shows you numbers. So I can see the numbers of teachers. Now, this is my demo site, so not everybody in my demo school has written their goals as they should have, but I can see that I have some teachers who wrote a goal but never submitted. This was probably a false start, where I went in and started writing a goal and then changed my mind, but I never deleted that one out. So as a principal, I could recommend those teachers, hey, if you've got unsubmitted goals, let's go clean those out. Let's get them deleted. The same is true for the submitted goals. In the case of Tara, she submitted her goal, but her appraiser never approved that goal. So I probably need to talk as the building principal to that appraiser and say, hey, let's get that goal approved so that she can move on through to the next step. For this teacher, I have 2 submitted goals that never got approved, but one goal did get approved, and I know it did because it's already been marked completed. So this one has already gone through the process. This may have been my real goal. Possibly at this point, I submitted 2 goals to my appraiser, and my appraiser said, no, I really want you to work on this other thing. And so I wrote another goal that went through the process. Again, I can go in as the teacher and clean these up, delete these goals, because the one I'm really working on is sitting over here in the completed status. Over here, we have a teacher who wrote 2 goals. They both got approved. So this teacher is working on 2 goals. But before they come to the summative conference, I want them to mark them completed. If they think they've finished that goal, I want them to go ahead and mark it completed, because only the teacher can do that part. So what I want to see at the end of the year is that all of the goals are either marked completed or archived. One of these two columns is where I want all of my goals before teachers leave, because either of these two states of a goal will get caught up in the final archive that the district does that files away all the documents. So I don't want to have all of these approved goals out here. I want my teachers to go ahead and mark them complete when they think they've done them. And any that were unsubmitted or submitted but never got approved, I want my teachers to clean those up, or I want my appraisers to approve them so that they can move along in the process. The second report that I would want to run, I'm going to save the goal detail spreadsheet and talk about it a little bit later, but I would want to run the evaluation status report at the end of the year. And there are two different ways to run it. In this case, I want to run it detailed by appraiser, because detailed by appraiser is going to give me some date information that I need to see at the end of the year. So I'm going to submit this report. You have the option of exporting it to a spreadsheet, and that's fine if you want to manipulate the data. In this case, I just want to see the numbers and I want to see the dates. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it in a PDF. What I'm looking for here is this viewable column. Viewable means that the appraiser clicked that button that says let staff view. If the appraiser never clicked that button, then it's going to say not sent. And if it's not sent, then the teacher never got a chance to look at it, and it is not going to get archived. So I want to make sure I go through this list as a building principal and see that all of these have dates by them. All these ones that say not sent, I need to talk to that appraiser, and I can scroll up to the top and see which appraiser I'm looking at, because I'm looking at all the ones done by admin, last name admin, first name admin, but I can see who did not click that let staff view button. Now, once they have been made viewable, for example, this one right here for Diana Bailey, it was made viewable by the administrator, but the teacher never went in and looked at it. That's something I would want to talk to the teacher about, because they should be looking at their documents so that they can learn and grow from those documents, but this will not keep it from getting archived. So the important column here is the viewable column, because anything that says not sent in the viewable column will not get archived when the archive is run at the end of the year. Okay, I'm going to close that report. And the last report I would want to run at this stage is the Unsigned Documents Report. So I'm going to go in and click on that one. Again, I can select which documents I want. If I'm not sure which documents have to be signed, I can go ahead and leave them all selected. That's not a problem. And in this case, again, all I need is to see the information. I'm not going to manipulate it, so I'm going to do a PDF, because they usually run a little bit faster. And it will generate a list of all of the documents that require a signature but have not yet been signed by my people. So I'm going to open that up. And again, I can see it by campus that I'm responsible for. And if I was a district level person, I would see every campus in the district. As a principal, I'm only seeing the campuses where I did evaluations or where I have some responsibility as a supervisor. So I can come over here and see who the staff member was, when the document was done, what the name of the document was, and who signed or did not sign. So in this case, I have a staff member who signed, but the appraiser did not. In some cases, neither of them signed. So all of these signatures need to happen before those documents can get archived at the end of the year. So I would want to make sure that I go back in and find all of these and make sure those signatures get done. The goal is that when I run this report for the very last time at the end of the year, it's going to be blank. Because if it's blank, that means everything is signed, and that's my goal. So I don't want to see a bunch of things on here. I want to see nothing, because if it's an unsigned document, that's not a good thing for me. Okay, once I have discovered that I have some unsigned documents or that I have some things that need to be addressed, I'm going to go in and take care of that. So I want to talk a little bit about signing documents. Both signatures need to happen. What the order should be is for the teacher to sign first and then for the appraiser to go back and sign after, because once the appraiser has signed, no changes can be made. So if the appraiser signs, I did it, I signed it, I'm passing it off to the teacher, and then there's a conversation and the appraiser says, oh, you're right, I forgot about that, I need to make a correction. Once both signatures have happened, no corrections can be made. So I always say reserve that administrative signature for the final step after all the conversations have happened. So the teacher can sign it, we can have a conversation about it, I can make changes if I need to, but then I can go in and sign it and be that final step. So let's look at what that's going to look like. As an administrator, I'm going to go in to my campus and I'm going to look at a teacher who is at a different campus. So let me switch over. So I'm going to go in, and I noticed that Nina was on the list, had a document that was not signed by me. So I'm going to go in and find that document. I'm going to click on View Signatures, and it shows me that Nina has already signed it. So the teacher has signed, but I need to sign it. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to have to log in. And then I'm going to have to use my security question answer. So it's going to show me what my security question is. I'll type in my answer. And it's very important that I click on this button that says electronically sign the document and not use the enter key or anything else. So once I do that, it's going to say, yay, you signed it. It shows both of us have signed. That document is now locked and I'm good to go. It's been taken off my unsigned document report. If I go back in and look at another, I'm going to go in and say, Bubba was also on the list. He was on the list with both of us being unsigned. But when I go in to look at the signatures here, or if I go in to sign it, it says invalid profile for signatures. And it says some of the staff members assigned to this document do not have valid profiles. What that tells me is that one of us has not set up our security question and password. I know it's not me because I just logged in and signed Nina's document. So that tells me that Bubba hasn't gone into his profile and set up his security question and answer. And as soon as he does that, then I'll see both of the names that need to sign. Bubba will be able to do his signature and I will be able to do my signature. So if you get this message, it means that one of you, it's not me in this case. I know that because I just did one correctly. So that means that the teacher has not set up the profile correctly and they're not ready to go. Okay, so next I want to talk a little bit about goals and the stages that a goal goes through in the process. It starts with the teachers creating the goals, and those are what we saw as unsubmitted on that report. Then once the teacher clicks the button that says submit to appraiser, the status changes to submitted. And it's out there waiting on approval. And then the appraiser is going to approve that goal. What we hope for is that we're at step 3 fairly early in the year. So if your teachers are supposed to have their goals submitted by September 15th, then maybe by the end of September, we want to make sure all the appraisers have gone in and reviewed those goals and gotten them to step 3, because they're going to want to stay in step 3 and step 4. Actually, they're going to want to stay in step 4 for the majority of the year. And this is where they're collecting evidence, they're communicating back and forth, they're working on that goal. And then at the end of the year, we want to get everybody to step 5, where the teachers decide if they think they have finished. If they think they have finished, then they're going to mark their goal complete. That doesn't mean that they get to determine when they're done. It just means they get to say when they think they're done. They mark it completed. And then when they come into the end of the year conference, that's when we're going to get to step 6. After that conversation about whether or not it is completed, the appraiser can say, yes, I agree that your goal is complete, and it can get archived. Or the appraiser can say, no, I think you have a little more work to do. The teacher can edit that goal, change the target date, and continue working on it. They will resubmit it, and the state will move back to submitted. So that way it won't get archived because it'll be in the submitted state, and they can keep working on it next year. So we want everything to be completed so that the administrator can determine if it's ready to archive. And if it is going to be archived, there are a couple of different ways that can happen. I put that out of order, I apologize. Once it's time to archive that goal, then either the appraiser can click on the archive button, or the teacher also, once they have marked the goal completed, the teacher will have an archive button. So as the appraiser, I can say, when you get back to your room, would you please mark that goal archived? Or if neither one of us marks it archived and it stays in the completed state, it will get archived when the district runs that big archive at the end of the year. So the way I see it, the appraiser archiving is sort of like that second signature on a document. The teacher marked it completed. That was sort of their signature saying, I think I'm done. The appraiser clicking archive is the appraiser saying, yes, I agree that you're done. But if that doesn't happen, then either the teacher can archive it or it will get archived as long as it's in the completed state. The one last thing that I wanted to talk about goals, and I sort of put these out of order, so I apologize for that. The goal evidence is something that I would want to look at when I determine whether or not that goal is ready to archive. Did the teacher really get it completed? There are 4 kinds of text that can be added. They can write anecdotal evidence in a text box where they just explain something that happened and how they handled it and how that related to their goal. Or they could upload files. Those files could be lesson plans. They could be pictures of their kids' work, pictures of their kids working, or video files of their kids working. It could be a link to something on their website, or it could be an entry from a workshop that they attended, a portfolio entry showing what course they went to and having them reflect on whatever that evidence is. So I would want to look at their evidence, look at how they reflected on that evidence, and that would help me determine if I think the goal is really ready to archive. Both the teacher and the appraiser can archive or can add evidence, by the way. And then the last report I want to run is the student growth report, the student growth details or goal details report. So to run that one, I would want to go in to my appraisal reports. I'm going to go to goal details, but I'm going to select the student growth goals. And then I have the option of including student growth goal portfolio data. So if your district is using our student portfolio piece where the teachers are putting their student tracker or whatever rubric you're using to measure student growth goals into the portfolio, and they're using that to keep track of the milestones throughout the year and then rate that student growth at the end of the year, I would want to see that information as I'm going into the summative conference. So I'm going to click and submit that report, and it's going to pull the data in. I'm not going to have much because it's a demo site. Open, there we go. So it's going to pull in all the information about all the student growth goals where I can see everything, what the goal statement was and all of that. But if I scroll over, I will see the portfolio information on the far right-hand side. So I'll see all the demographics for each teacher and how they set their sample group of students up for that student portfolio. And I'll also see how many did not grow, how many grew as expected, how many exceeded expected growth, and it will average that together for me and give me a percentage of students that met or exceeded growth. Those districts that are participating in TIA, that's something that is going to be important to you, going forward. So I would want to run this report at the end of the year as I'm going into summatives so that I have that information about how my teachers did with their student growth goals during the year. And then I'm going to take that information one step further. When I'm in the teacher's account, I'm looking at their goal. I can see a portfolio snapshot over on the right-hand side, and I can expand that portfolio snapshot and see the data for that individual teacher. I can see the demographic information for that teacher. I can see what, how they wrote their milestones. So I can see a lot of information about what they did with that student growth piece by looking at that portfolio snapshot. And as I go into the summative, that information is going to be used as one of the criteria that I will use to evaluate and determine what their rating is for that student growth component. So the number of students who met and or exceeded growth is one component, not all of it, but a piece that I will use as part of that summative rating. The last thing I want to talk about is the summative panel. So I'm going to go back in as an administrator and go back to my campus view. And so when I go into this teacher, she's had some walkthrough, she's had her observation, and now it's time for me to do that summative at the end of the year. I'm going to click on the plus sign to start a new summative, and I'm going to select the grade level and the subject area. And I want to make this match with the subject area and grade level or course that the teacher selected for their student growth goal. If your district has it set up where you can copy observation data into your summative, you can choose to do that here. If you don't see this checkbox, that means your district has not allowed for that copying. That's something that has to be turned on at the district level and then selected at the individual appraisal level. I am not going to copy over. I'm going to click Create and have my document show up as a blank document so I can see here's where I would put all of my ratings. And when I go, I'm going to go down to domain 2 because I have some better comments, I think. So when I get down to domain 2 and I'm ready to write it, put in my evidence for the final summative rating and also give that rating, I can come over and click on that in the summative panel, and anything that's happened throughout the year will show up here. So I can see I did a virtual walkthrough, and here are the comments. This is the evidence that I wrote in that walkthrough. And I said that I did observe good communication regarding expectations. And I can see that I did observe that rubrics and other exemplars were there and being used, and that I did observe that teachers and students personalized their academic learning goals. So I can see what I observed, and I can see what comments I wrote or what evidence I put in there. If I want to, I can grab that evidence and drag and drop it into my evidence for the summative. And then I can come down and see what I saw on the observation. So I had 3 different observation documents. So I have some averages here of the scores there. And if I had comments about that, I could drag it over. I could then look at this and say, okay, I had on different observations, I had sometimes accomplished, sometimes proficient. Let's look at what I saw in the walkthroughs and also what I wrote in the comments to determine, is it overall proficient or overall accomplished? And I would make that decision based on all of the data that I'm seeing here. In addition to seeing those documents, I can also see any professional goals that went along with this particular dimension. I can open it up without having to leave the document and see all of the evidence that was collected. That might help me determine if I think that they reached the accomplished point. And if I need to remind myself about something that I saw on one of these documents, I can always click on one and I'll see the dates when I did them, and I can open it up and look at the entire document and see everything that I put in there. And I can do that without having to leave the summative document and come back in. So that's why I chose not to copy over the information from the observation. I wanted to see everything about that teacher for the entire year and make my decision on the summative that way. And when I get down to the end and I'm looking at that student growth component, I can come back to my entire framework, and at the bottom there, my student growth goals will be showing for me to go in and look at the student growth goals and see all of the information, including that portfolio snapshot that I can then use to determine, okay, what are my numbers here? What are my percentages? What is the work that they did? And I have all of that right there as I'm deciding whether they're going to, which of these levels they're going to reach for the student growth component. So the summative panel hopefully will help administrators to see all of the information that they need as they're going in to finish out those documents.
Yes. One has asked, what is the name of the function that allows the summative panel or summative panel?
So the summative panel is not it's not a thing that you turn on or off. It is something that is based on the tags in the documents. So someone who is responsible for setting up your appraisal process will need to go into the settings, and I'm in as a principal, so I don't have access to that. But in my documents, each one of these questions, it needs to be tagged to the appropriate dimension. And so when you go in and tag all of your documents, all the goals get tagged by the teachers, all the documents get tagged by your district people who created the process. Once those tags are in place, then everything will show up in the summative panel. If you're just not seeing the panel at all, that would be if you're seeing it and it's saying there's no evidence. But if you're not seeing the panel at all, and I just thought this may be where the question came from, there is a button up here that says hide framework data, and now I'm not seeing that summative panel. But if I click show framework data, I'm clicking it and I see it. If I click on one of the standards and it doesn't show me anything, it says, it has a message up here that says something to the effect that there's no data available. If it says no data available, you need to talk to the people who are working with your templates and make sure that your templates are tagged. But if it's just that you're not seeing it, it may be just that you need to click the button that says show framework data. Hopefully one of those two things will resolve the issue. If you have additional questions, anytime you're in our system, you can always go up to the little question mark at the top, and it's called Eddie Helps, and I can go in and see a variety of things. I could go in and look at a folder that's going to give me, this little symbol is going to help me walk through the process. So when I click on something, it's going to pop up with some reminders. I'm not really in a good place for that right now, but it'll pop up some information to help me find what I'm looking for. So that's what the icon with the mileposts will do. If I want to see articles, then I can click on these links that will take me to somewhere in our online help. And if there are any videos in there, I'm just going to see if I can find one that has a video. And I'm not seeing them here, but you'll see a little icon for videos too. So you can tell by the icons whether it's going to be help for me within the program with the little mileposts, or a link will take me to an article, or there's a video symbol that'll take you to video. If I want to go to additional help resources, that's going to take me out to our online help section. And from here, I can go into any of the applications and find more information. For example, the report article that I talked about is right here. And then there is a whole section for tasks for principals and appraisers up here, 15 articles that walk you through all of the things that administrators need to do to plan for the summative conference, to sign documents, or to clear a signature if they want to unsign a document. So all of those things are in our online help. And then I just wanted to remind you of some upcoming webinars. Tomorrow we have a webinar on tracking your professional growth. So trying to help teachers and users find the professional growth that will meet their needs. We also have 2 end of the year webinars coming up in May and the first week of June. On May 26th, it will be all the applications except Aware, and we'll go over all those end of the year closeout tasks. We give Aware its own webinar on the 2nd because it's bigger and there's a lot to do, and so it takes a little more time. So we've divided them up that way, and we have those webinars coming up. You can always register for them by going to our online help section and clicking on the training and webinars link.
Oh, we do have one more question.
Okay.
They're asking if you still have electronic signatures turned on for your summative document, but this year we are not using electronic signatures. Do you say, or will the document be archived because there's no electronic signatures?
It will if you have it turned on. So just telling the teachers not to sign I would go in and take off electronic signatures and then click the update existing documents so that the signatures are no longer required for those documents, because if it's still set to require and you just tell them not to sign, those documents will not be in an archivable state. So that's a very good question to ask at this point.
Okay, so it will archive even if they don't have signatures?
No, it will not.
Okay.
So what they need to do, if if they've told teachers not to sign, they need to go into that document and turn off electronic signatures and update existing documents.
Okay.
And if the person asking the question is the person in charge of doing that, you can email us at training@eduphoria.net for more information. Or if you're not the person who's responsible for doing that, you're just now all of a sudden concerned about the electronic signatures, you can have your Eduphoria manager email us at training@eduphoria.net, and we'll get back to them and help them go through that. All right. We do have our final slide just letting you know how you can get in touch with us or keep up with us. You can always go in and receive announcements by filling out the form that's in our online help section under announcements. Or you can follow us on social media. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we have a YouTube channel where we post videos, including the recording from this Lunch and Learn. So I want to thank you for your time today and hope you have a great week. And I hope we see you at another Lunch and Learn in the future.